we put a specific clientele first. It's difference between me, in a restaurant. I get restaurant serves everybody, but it was kind of like focusing on this community that is plays a major part in our community. It's regular folks, you know what I mean? These are moms, dads, regular community members, and again, it's about humanizing people, bringing visibility to this group, and not just like is it commodity, like profiting off of them.
I'm pretty and I know it. Tell me anyway. Pretty, pretty and I know it. I'm pretty and I know it. Tell me anyway.
My name is Vanessa Eve, and I am from the Streammate Network, and I am speaking with Nikeisah Newton of Meals for Heels, based out of Portland, Oregon. Meals for Heels is the world's only late-night meal delivery service that caters to sex workers and sex-positive clientele. Nikeisah, thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
I am doing great. It's a shiny, wonderful day in Portland. Had my little fried chicken fix early today, so I'm feeling pretty damn good.
It's a good start to the day.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got started in the food service industry.
Oh, okay. I came from a military. My dad was Air Force, so I've lived in Japan, Portugal, Arizona, North Dakota, Portland, and North Carolina. So I think that definitely reflects in my food. I've been in Portland for about 15 years. I started Meals for Heels in 2019, before the pandemic, before the whole idea of like caring about your community or other, putting people first, became a big movement, which, I'm proud that's going on still. So we started in 2019 here in Portland, Oregon. I started basically, it was just word of mouth. I had a girlfriend at the time who was full-time going to school, PSU. She was also interning full-time at the probation office for social work. But and then she was also dancing to pay for everything. So often when when she had downtime, it was either like get ready, take a nap, study for school, or feed yourself. And so if I was with her, I was definitely going to cook. And so there are times where she was like, hey, could you just bring this by my club or drop it off to my club? And so that's what I do. I bring it by. And more times I came, the more her coworkers caught notice, and they asked, like, what are you eating? Where'd you get that from? And so that was the little seed that got planted in my head. And so after we broke up and I was just trying to get back on my feet and try to get back to me, I really thought about the idea, like the name came to mind, and just like this could really work. If there's this 75 plus strip clubs in Portland, and that's just strip clubs, I say, then X amount of dancers per club, do the math. It's kind of a need because there isn't anything really healthy or delicious to eat late night, and I just thought the idea would really do well here, so I went for it.
You guys have a really vibrant and diverse like strip club scene in Portland. My partner and I, we've partaken as well in going down from Seattle. And so, presumably dancers don't necessarily stay in like one club, but they're kind of bopping between maybe 2 to 3 clubs, just depending on, what's hitting or what's going on. So I'm sure you got, the word of mouth kind of spread pretty quickly, would you say?
I think word of mouth and definitely Instagram helped. And then after that, it just kind of, a New York Times article blew everything up, and it's just been growing since then. Definitely took a hit during COVID. COVID's still ongoing, but just we're in the process now of doing like a full-on campaign. I've been doing surveys with dancers, asking them, where they're advertising, what they like to eat, ABC, do they even eat at work? So we'll definitely be back to where the goal is to be back to where we were before the pandemic.
In terms of like you growing up, what sorts of comfort foods do you recall enjoying as a kid?
I mean, Japan was a big influence. So I think they had different markets and festivals going on. So, I mean, literally like yakisoba, squid on a stick. I think it's tapenaki, or these little squid balls. Anything, my mom makes, my dad makes. My mom makes gumbo. She's from Georgia. My dad makes like his East Coast Jersey things, like sausage and peppers. So, I'm a big snacker. I kind of have an eclectic mix. Kind of, I like my salty over here, I like my sweet over there, and sometimes they can combine.
You're right. You come from a military background, right? Your parents were in the military.
My dad was in the Air Force for 20 years. Yeah. Probably up until like 13, 14 when we hit North Dakota, and then that all ceased because my dad got out of the Air Force. So any other traveling was up to me. But yeah, we moved around in the beginning, very much so, like every 2 to 3 years. So
Yeah.
all that, good influences on how I cook or how I view the world as well.
Tell me a little bit more about the cuisine and your style of cooking at present.
A little bit of what I see nowadays, what I see on social media. You got your TikTok, you got your little things that pop up that people get excited about. I think what influenced me too is where I've lived across the world. I think more and more is things that I don't see that aren't as common, like cuisines that aren't as maybe popular. So that could be African, that could be Central American, that could be East Indian, etc. So I've been trying to play around with those different flavors that don't get as much attention from the media.
Let's talk a little bit more, transition over to more of the business side of things. Can you describe to me a little bit more about your clientele and who you serve at Meals for Heels?
So who I serve, the main niche clientele is the sex working and sex positive community here in Portland. That's ranged from like dominatrix, that's ranging from dancers, that's ranged from cam workers, that's ranged to a lady who sells like what is it, leggings or stockings that are, I think, some type of fetish around. And then also I started the general public, since I have a walk-up window. So we're open for lunch service, catering services. And with that, it's been definitely a lot of social justice, Planned Parenthood, APANO, which is the Asian Pacific Alliance of North Oregon, Don't Shoot PDX. Yeah, just a different broad range of different groups.
What is it about the adult industry in particular and sex work that you feel most connected to?
I think there's some type of freedom with that, with your body, how you display your body. There's power with that. I think the freedom and the power that it possesses, because sex can be or has been so shunned. People finding their power and their strength in that is phenomenal.
Did you see a lot of that whenever you were with your previous partner who kind of inspired this concept?
I guess when I think, I smile because it's like seeing the inside workings, because there's so much more to a sex worker than just their body. I say they wear a bunch of different hats. It's cheerleader, it's the fan girlfriend experience. It's also being psychologist,
Yeah.
etc. It's all these hats, and it's, I guess, understanding people in a sense. So it's more than meets the eye.
In terms of the adult industry, I mean, it's still very heavily stigmatized, even though things are kind of improving, and people are becoming a little bit more open. We see that even with mainstream media and Netflix. As someone who serves this community, have you received support from your friends and family who are aware of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, man, I've had a lot of positive support. I mean, I don't even think there has been any negative. I've maybe one or two incidences, but I'm very surprised by it. Even when I tell the 6-year-old lady who doesn't know what sex work is or doesn't quite understand, and they're just like, oh yeah, like they deserve this, to be humanized and have this respect and have a service for them. So it's been 1,000% positive.
That's amazing that you can come at it from that perspective too, in terms of like, a what they call civilian, I guess, supporting sex workers and being able to share that with others. So that's good, because I think so often like sex workers or people in the adult industry, they're pushing and fighting so hard, to be seen and to be heard. So it's really cool whenever you actually have support of people who are working like adjacent to.
Yeah, there's a lot more nurses, firefighters. I've gotten like big like reactions or support from those different groups. And again, I think it goes back to in a sense, intersectionality. And I could be absolutely wrong, you know what I mean? But I find, especially within the sex worker community, there is a lot of intersectionality, and I don't know. I like what it's about.
You mentioned the pandemic previously, and it was pretty brutal for different forms of in-person sex work. But what was this like for the strip clubs in your area, and how was your business subsequently impacted by that?
I remember the week it shut down. I had delivered to a client, and I think she was the one who informed me like she was going to get bad. And I was like, nah. I remember thinking it was just to be a 60, 90-day thing. Everything shut down. It took a while for everything to get back to somewhat normal. I still don't think things are that regular in the club before 2020. We only lost like, I think maybe 2 or 3 strip clubs in Portland. So that, that's all something some people don't also talk about, is like, they're struggling as well. Owners are struggling as well. And then also I'd say here in Portland, you saw people doing, I think at one of the clubs, they had like, you can have a dancer come and drop off food to you. They had a drive-through strip club, etc. I like the innovativeness. People are very resilient. And I mean, now it's still, it's a weird situation, because I feel like, like it took me a minute to be like, hey, when should I start kind of getting service again? Because people are, trying to catch up, get their bank account right, or just get back to what quote unquote normal was. So, I mean, real talk, I feel like the imposter syndrome, you know what I mean? Because it's like, I'm not as steadily delivering the clubs as I used to, but I'm happy that we've gotten bigger, where we have a bigger clientele. But the heart and soul of this is, the sex worker community. And so I look forward to getting back to that. Now I feel like it's enough time. I've had enough reaction. I have enough people, dancers, sex workers reach out to me, that it's, like I said, it's like this winter is definitely a full on like campaign, like, marketing and whatever we need to do to get back to regular club service again.
We're going to transition, speaking of food, more into the food segment. So most of your ingredients, then, it's sourced locally?
During the season, if I can. It's more like kind of like my base. So collards, kale, because each dish starts with collards or kales, but from there we get peppers, onions, garlic, from local farmers. Tomatoes is a big one, cucumbers, and then anything else I just get from the regular chef store.
What is food activism?
I didn't realize that how much food can do and how many doors it can open. So I think it's using food to connect and unite community, to build community, to get people sit down at the table so we can talk about some things, discuss some things. I think people a little more maybe relaxed or open when there's a plate of food in front of them. I think it shows empathy for everyone around us, whether they're food insecure or not. It's a very powerful tool, and I'm glad I'm a part of it.
How do you think food activism relates to Meals for Heels?
We put a specific clientele first. It's difference between me, in a restaurant. I get restaurant serves everybody, but it was kind of like focusing on this community that plays a major part in our community. It's regular folks, you know what I mean? These are moms, dads, regular community members, and again, it's about humanizing people, bringing visibility to this group, and not just like is a commodity, just just like the whatever profits, like profiting off of them and whatnot. Our mission statement is something that wasn't, I say, before the pandemic, usually seen in the food service in general. I would say definitely we had a little jump on it.
That is needed these days, in terms of really being clear with your mission statement.
Yeah.
So that's amazing that you're able to, I guess, translate that into food. So from your point of view, are fresh ingredients accessible across different communities in your area?
From my perspective, I see a lot more of it. Literally, my current girlfriend is a farmer, and she has a CSA that goes only to people who who were experiencing housing instability but now are housed. I see other, working more with farmers. I see the food they actually like give away, from eggs to actual vegetables, or other programs like Equitable Giving Circle that give hundreds of meals to Black families here in Portland. There's so many grassroots people, not just big corporations or nonprofits, that are trying to feed people who might not have food security.
Are those types of grassroots organizations, like, do they have pretty high visibility?
Yeah, I think so. I think the ones that are on the ground doing the actual work, they're connecting with the right people, and they're going out to the communities.
What are some of the challenges that you see in terms of marginalized communities having access to fresh and healthy food options?
For marginalized groups, I think there's been a bigger push. There's more, I'm seeing more Black and brown farmers, queer farmers, and those are some of them. That's their main goal, is to get these foods, or not just getting these foods, teaching people how to. That's another thing, is like grow their own gardens, or to know where to get maybe like extras from other groups that have extra foods and this and this. So it's not just supplying them with the food, it's also teaching them how to find their own means as well. Knowledge is power. The people I roll with, I'm amazed by what they do. They have like a lot of them have a lot less than what I have or what other people have or big corporations have, but they're doing so much more.
Why do you feel it's important that sex workers incorporate more healthy options into their daily diet, just from your perspective?
From my perspective, it's a physical job. It's also a very emotional, mentally can be draining job. So food is not just energy or sustenance. I think when I eat better, I feel better. Keeps my mind a little more sharp. It's especially for the ones working late at night. When we go to bed after hard days of work, we don't want to go to sleep with gas or have our stomach hurting or wake up the next day in the morning feeling groggy or feeling kind of like gross about what they ate. So I think it's just seeing that food is not just the energy and sustenance and calories. It's like it's a holistic approach.
What are some of the most nutrient dense food options for active bodies like those who engage in physical sex work or any form of physical labor?
Fresh as you can get, fresh vegetables, fruits. I'm not like so much a dietitian and know all the things. Other than just throwing in something fresh in there. Something dark, leafy, green is always good. Beans are great proteins. Basic vegetables.
That's what we learned on Sesame Street too,
Yeah,
it still works. Where can people typically source healthy or local ingredients for meals without spending their entire paycheck? Chef's opinion. Is the grocery store the best bet necessarily?
Your farmer's market, getting to know your farmer. I mean, there's some that maybe at the end of the farmer's market, they're trying to make their money too, but maybe at the end they're like, hey, we have extras, it's a Saturday, we're not being back to the farm until Monday. So maybe just getting to know your local farmers through a farmer's market. And I mean, I want to say CSAs, but those can be very expensive. Smaller, maybe mom and dad shops, like little bodegas. Sometimes they have like a couple of the Mexican tiendas here. They have they have plantains and fresh produce, etc. I think those might be some options than just going to the big stores, grocery outlet, farmers markets, your local bodegas, stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess cash and carry would be more so if you're buying in bulk, like if you need a big amount, and maybe you're meal prepping or something like that. Struggle meals. Many of us have been there at some point, or
Yes.
some of us are making ends meet right now. What is your suggestion for an economical, tasty, yet nourishing version of a struggle meal?
Wow. I'd say it's a little bit of A and B. It's like taking the packaged tuna. Have some fresh spinach. Tossing that together, making a salad. I made a big batch of pesto, so I've been working on the pesto with a little bit of pasta and adding tomatoes. For me, I think it's just adding as much fresh vegetables to your stuff. To me, makes it healthy. Even if you made a quesadilla, I do the struggle meal. So just quesadilla with cheese, but throw in all the spinach, all the tomato, whatever vegetables, onions you got, throw that in there. And then there's no shame again in using canned vegetables, frozen vegetables as well. When you're in a pinch, those I've made definitely some great meals with black eyed peas and canned tomatoes and grits and whatnot.
That's true. You don't really think about canned vegetables, but they do keep longer if there is hesitation getting like the fresh stuff.
I just say add a little bit, just add something to it. If you do fresh, even better.
Final question.
Yes.
What advice would you give to sex workers in terms of nourishment as it applies to their self-care?
To listen to your cravings. I say it's okay to give in. I had fried chicken this morning. It's okay. Listen to your cravings. I say don't deprive yourself, and it's okay to emotionally eat. Just try to keep it balanced. Get your 3 meals in, get your snacks in, and if your meals, maybe try to keep the heavier things earlier in the day, especially if you're working late at night. Gives you time, to process it.
All about balance.
Yeah.
What's your go-to meal outside of a shift?
My go-to meal. My go-to. It's probably fried chicken. Though a good hot pot is amazing. Me and my girl go to a hot pot. Yeah, I mean, I love ramen. I used to be in Japan, so curry or ramen, Japanese curry ramen. But I'd say fried chicken because there's karaage. I've had fried chicken in Costa Rica. You know what I mean? There's Korean fried chicken. There's many types, all that stuff. So, and that's what I love about it. There's Georgian people. Look, they make a fried chicken. So fried chicken in general.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to day. And where can people find you if they want to learn more about Meals for Heels or keep up with all of the happenings?
All the happenings. So we have a website, www.meals, the number 4, heels, HEELS.com. We're also on Instagram, which is @meals4heels. And we're on Facebook. And, we do a little bit of TikToking. But definitely hit up our Instagram if you want to keep up with any current and updated all things Meals for Heels.
Thank you so much, Nikeisah.
Thank you, Vanessa. Elevate Stream 8. I appreciate this opportunity. Definitely.
Going toward peripheral catches your blood.